By himself, the Demolition Zombie's not really that big a deal. I mean, sure, he's got his no-no button that if you hit, he gets a little bit pissy and eventually will run at you and blow up, but he really doesn't do that much. A small hole in the ground, a little bit of damage to the blocks surrounding it, and that's pretty much the end of the threat. No big deal at all. And back in Alpha 18, I showed you guys what it looked like when you cranked up some of the settings to pretty much nuke level of status. It did a decent amount of damage to the ground and some of the surrounding buildings, which is very cool to be able to see it kind of completely level a small residential street, but still not really that impressive. So now I want to see what happens if I make the stats all the way up the way I did last time, but also make him 10 times bigger than normal, so he's the size of the downtown buildings. And instead of setting him off in a tiny little town like we did the first time, I want to set him off over here where there's a bunch of buildings right in the middle of downtown, right next to the old clock tower, the Crack-a-Book Hotel. I want to see how much damage this bad boy will do if given the opportunity to be a huge mungus and have the gigantic explosive personality he has. So, we're going to fire this bad boy off, see what he does, see how bad it lags out my computer, and see what kind of damage he can do. Okay, well, we can look around and see that that did do quite a bit of damage, but that wasn't nearly as dramatic as it needed to be because it kind of just lagged out and then boom, everything kind of disappeared. We need some actual explosions, but we can see that it did do a decent amount of damage. You know, blew the top half of this building off, ruined the clock tower. It did some damage, but it wasn't nearly as dramatic as it could have been. You can see the building we were on over here, it went and did a ton of damage to that. The ripple that this explosions have when this thing goes off is pretty fantastic, but that wasn't nearly good enough. So we're going to do it again, but we're going to stand right below him so we can see exactly what it does. And I think about right here should be good. I figure right in front of the old Cathedral of Doom, right here in the corner, across from the Dude Bro shop. Oh, this should be a pretty good area where we can get a good evaluation as to how much damage it's doing. So let's see if we can get another one in here. Okay, so we got another one here. We're going to try it out right over here next to the church. That way we can actually see what it's doing. I was a little bit disappointed in what happened with the last one. So what we're going to do is we're going to fly right down here, stay right below him, and so we can see what happens when the explosion actually goes off. Let me just pause him right there for a second. And prepare for the boom. Wow, that's pretty fantastic. That did a pretty good job right there. Didn't do as much damage to the street, just a little bit here, because it doesn't do that much damage to the ground. That's a pretty good explosion. That's a pretty good explosion right there. Look at this. We went ahead and wiped out the entire side of this building. Did it do anything over here? Didn't look like it touched those buildings. Left the Gentleman's Club alone. Did pretty decent amount of damage to the side of the church. The meltdown over here lost the top part of its building. That's not too bad. That's some pretty good damage right there. But I think we could probably do a little bit better. Alright, this little bitter. Flew over to the snow biome, got a brand new town. We got Deshang over there. We've got the Higashi Pharmaceuticals over here. We got an elevated area on a bridge. I increased the damage ratio from what I had of 100 to 200 and increased the earth and the regular block damage by a considerable amount more. So, realistically, he should do a little bit more extra damage, which also may take a little bit longer for it to render in. But I figure, hey, this is probably one of the better opportunities for us to see exactly what this bad boy can do. So let me go ahead and freeze him in place so I can actually see what he's doing. See if we can't get the old beep beep here, and then we'll give it a chance to render in. Well, I would say that did a fair amount of damage to old Deshang over there. I mean, it wasn't completely... It's not completely destroyed or anything, but man, look how much damage that did. I mean, that did from bottom all the way to the top. See, building across the street got peppered with a little bit there. Higashi Tower is missing the top section of it there. It did some decent damage. I'm guessing with his elevated position on the bridge over here, he didn't do as much damage to the base of this thing somehow or another. just the angle at which it exploded. His explosions go kind of in a diamond pattern a little bit, so he was closer to Deshang than Higashi, so that's where the brunt of the damage took. But check out that. That was a pretty good job right there. I kind of want to see if we can take down the rest of it with another well-placed demolition zombie, like right in front of it. While we're here, we might as well, right? You know, keep the fun going. Yep, he's going to bring out the old T-pose for us because he's nice and paused in place. See if we can't get the beep beeps here. We'll go to ground level so we can see it from an elevated position. This ought to go nice and terribly well. Well, that was fantastic. If you worked in this building, I'm afraid to tell you that you're probably not going to be going to work anytime soon. They're going to have a little bit of repair work to be done. That blast did a little bit of extra damage to the building across the street. Higashi took a little bit of damage, and whatever building was right behind us over here, well, it's not really there anymore. That building took some damage. We got a nice little cave-in on the road system all the way here. Surprisingly, the bridge is still standing. That is freaking fantastic. I don't know why I find such joy and pleasure in that sort of thing, but it absolutely makes me smile all over. It really, really does. And yeah, to be able to see it take that much damage from a gigantic demolition zombie, well, I wish I could make it do more. Unfortunately, the blast wave, once it hits a block, it stops. It doesn't permeate through it like a shock wave, you know, from a normal nuke going off. But let's go around to the side here. Let's just see here. Okay, that's a decent amount of damage for one zombie. That's a decent amount of damage. I enjoyed that. That was good fun. I could probably spend a decent amount of time just sitting here playing with the settings and seeing what I could possibly do to get it to, you know, completely bring down this building. I've imploded the Deshang a few towers, and I always have a good time with that. But I think we'll leave that at that. We know what a gigantic demolition nuclear zombie can do now to downtown, and it's pretty amazing. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, would you do me a favor and leave a thumbs up on it and subscribe if you're new here? That way you can check out some other videos. Leave some comments of some other things you'd like me to play with in the settings like this if you have any other ideas. In the meantime, you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you later.